Well, this is awkward. Well, yeah, after making a total of 2 anime videos, something important came out. Yesterday, it came out what I would call one of the most ambitious projects ever created by an anime YouTuber, being the anime Baan created by Gigguk, or Gigguk, Gigguk. I remember that when it was announced, it had some mixed opinions in the matter. A lot of people believe that it was a fantastic idea. Having one of the people that has contributed the most to the anime community actually creating an anime sounded like a really good idea. Others, on the other hand, believed that it was not gonna work. And especially they didn't believe it on it when the trailer came out. However, because I didn't want that any stereotype to blind my side and my way to look at things, I decided to wait until the anime came out. And the second that it came out, I watched the entirety of it. The first episode. But yeah, in summary, I will be giving my opinions in the new anime Baan by Gigguk. Oh yeah guys, and sponsored by what? Drink water guys. The anime starts in a very interesting way. I'm gonna start with the best thing that I can say about it, that I think and I hope that it's not gonna change whether this is a one-off or if it's a multiple chapter series. It has a very good animation. I really enjoyed it. Granted, it has some CGI moments that I'm probably gonna show on screen. There is some, but overall I think that it looks very neat, and I think that the animation group was pretty spot on in most cases. Granted, it doesn't have anything that requires an insane animation. It doesn't have any spectacular fights. That is not the focus at all. So it's more difficult to evaluate that. But I think that overall it looks very neat. Another thing that I have to say is that I watched it in the YouTube channel of Gigguk. So I watched it in English. And I'm gonna say the voice acting is really good. I know that C-Dog worked on that. I think he was the director of the English dub. And I think that whether he casted the people or he just took the people that were casted and they gave it the correct lines and the ways to pronounce it, whatever it is, it was very good. There were no major flaws of what I can think of in the dubbing, and the emotional moments sounded emotional and sound realistic, so I will give it a thumbs up for that. But you know damn well that you are not here for listening to the dubbing and the animation. Let's talk about the important parts, because of course, the animation and the dubbing or the voice acting is very important. But those are not the things that we are thinking about when we hear about an anime created by an anime creator. We're thinking about the story. And the story, well, it was awkward. One of the complaints that people had when the trailer came out was the fact that this looked like a new isekai, which it was. Kinda. You see, the anime is indeed an isekai. However, it's not a completely normal one. It's actually a double isekai. You see, there's actually two protagonists. One from the human world and another one from a fantasy world. And basically what they do is that in one way or another they change spots. At least that's what it looks like the first time that you see it. But yeah, basically the human goes to the fantasy world, and this girl, that I think that is a unique species, so I'm not certain how to call her. I will call her an angel because it has the wings, but other than that, yeah, I'm not certain. I'm probably gonna call her by the name. But yeah, this girl, before we know the name, goes to the human world. So yeah, basically the story is summary to a certain extent of what each of them are doing within the other's world. How the guy has to get used to being in a new world where they are way less advanced than the human world, and how the girl has to learn how to be in a society with humans and technology and all of that. And a job. Yeah, she needs to get a job. Like a lot of you guys, myself included. The portrayal of both societies is fine. It's nothing spectacular, but it's good for the time that it has. The animation has less than 20 minutes overall, and that is without even including the credits at the end. So it's closer to being like 16 minutes or 17 minutes instead of the usual 24 for one chapter. But yeah, as I'm saying, it works. There was something very interesting within the Baan anime, and it's the way that it used the show don't tell. One of the most common advices that anyone is gonna get is using the show don't tell, which in summary is if you have a piece of lore or piece of something, show it and don't explain it because that is gonna be more effective. And it's obvious that they used it here. A lot. You see, the first couple of minutes is just a constant show don't tell, which as I'm saying is a very effective way to put you in the war. But I think that it goes a little over the top. There are some moments in which there are so many different things happening in such a sequence of quick events that is like, wait a second, what is going on here? Why? So it's clear that he used that advice, but he might have overdone it. Maybe it's just because it's a short film instead of a regular anime, so he wanted to go for the entirety of showing everything as quickly as possible, but I think that going a little bit less over the top would have been more effective. The other part that is kinda confusing is the way that both of the protagonists switch words. I don't want to make a spoilers of something that came out literally one day ago and is less than 20 minutes long, so I'm not gonna say what is the thing, but let's just say that you kinda do not understand what is going on until it's shown like halfway through, but it's not exactly explain why it happened in such a way. As I said, both of the protagonists switch spots, but it's like yes but no, so it's weird. Another thing that is very obvious watching this short film is the fact that it has a very big issue with what it is the time. It has a lot of interesting ideas. However, as I already stated, being an anime of less than 20 minutes, it doesn't have enough time to show everything. It doesn't have enough time to show most of the things actually. And I think that that is a problem. Granted, it's not gonna be a huge issue, because if Gigguk managed to work more on this, and have more time, more money, I don't know what is exactly the issue. It's probably really costly to make it so good looking, as I already stated. But whatever the issue is, I think that it is clear that he requires more time than a single less than 20 minutes anime. I think it's very clear that this is a world that you can build around and have a story of at least an hour. It has enough things to probably make it almost the length of a movie. Maybe not as much, as I say, maybe 45 minutes, but close to that, I feel like it would have been a way better amount than what we currently had. That it's too little for what is shown. For both of the protagonists, they are simply cool portrayals. In both of the protagonist cases, it's just that none of them feel like they have a place where they belong, so that's why they go and switch their places, to say in a way. Considering the fact that you have less than 20 minutes, the first couple minutes are introductory, you kinda don't have enough time to feel really connected with any of the two protagonists, that they split similar time on screen. One of them has more, but it's not by a huge margin, so I'm not gonna count it. But as I'm saying, it has the issue in which none of them is shown enough time for you to feel connected, and they do not have enough time to show how they truly are. There are some things that are shown individually, mostly by the main girl protagonist, but other than that, it's just not enough. However, when you have this short film type of stuff, you know that at the end of the day, the most important part is gonna be the history and what it's trying to portray. The characters are gonna be obviously an added bonus if they are good, but it's really rare to have a really good character in such a short span of time. And in this case, the story is the strength once again. In simple terms, the story is a story of acceptance. Both of the characters felt uncomfortable in their places and they wanted to belong somewhere else. Both of them for completely different reasons. And that's why both of them go to the other's world. The story feels really wholesome. Both of them explore not only the new worlds, but also themselves in the process, and they start accepting and learning new stuff about these new worlds. It is really cool to see, especially for something that is basically an indie project, but other than that, and that's why I'm going back with the animation, it looks very good and it portrays what they are thinking at the moment really well. The story takes a turn in the events for something that happens within it that I'm not gonna say because, once again, I'm not gonna spoil something that is 20 hours old. But it shows how somebody truly feels when they feel that they do not belong somewhere. They show something that makes one of the characters to be completely justified on its actions. But not only that, which is the surprising thing, but also the same thing that they show not only helps it to understand why that character would want to go out of its world, but why it would want to go back as well, which is a constant struggle that one of the characters has throughout the entirety of the anime. And I think that the job is very, very good in that portrayal. I think that is really something that happens. Especially because I have someone very close to me that lived through that and explained it that it was actually very similar to this, which showcases that this was a very well investigated story. And I would even dare to say that this story probably is very personal to Gigguk, not only because he created it, but probably because that's how he felt the first time that he moved out. I know that he moved to Japan from other country, which I honestly do not know which one it is, but I know that he moved out, and I know that it was a very, very big deal for him. Obviously, leaving the country where you have lived probably most, if not your entire life, to go to a country in which you might not have any true connections. I know that he had connections, but not to the level to say that he was extremely close to that. So he actually making this story makes me believe that this is, as I'm saying, more of a showcasing how it was for him. How one side of him really wanted to move out of his home country, but the other side was constantly knocking at the door because he was very rooted to it, as everyone should be with its country. And I think that that is a very, very cool way to make a story. Not make it just because you want money, which he definitely didn't do for it, because he's showing it for free. Hell, he even allowed every content creator to go and watch it on stream, which is something that is very rare. So he definitely didn't care about the money. He cared about showing and telling the story, which, as I'm saying, I think that he did it because it's, in a certain way, his story. A story that how he felt and how he wanted to show it to the world. I was really doubting about what to do at the end of the video. I was really thinking between criticism, which, if you know my channel from previously, probably you know me because of that. Yeah, that is not the best way to be known for. Or give it a score. And because I kinda already gave some of the criticism, I will give the score. Before thinking about the last part of the video, I was genuinely thinking between a 6.5 and a 7 out of 10. But in the middle of doing this video is that I noticed those details that I just mentioned, which elevate this story in my opinion. Because a story is not only what is said, but a story is always told by the eyes of the author. And the story of the author also has a huge impact. And because I'm someone that grew up watching a lot of Gigguk's channel, sorry, I have to give it at least an 8 out of 10. I totally recommend watching it. It might not be the best anime out there, but for something that is less than 20 minutes long and made by someone that, as far as I'm concerned, has never created a story prior to this, it's a very, very good product. And I really appreciate it, and I want to congratulate every single person involved in this. From Gigguk to any animator and everyone in between, you made a surprisingly good product that was far beyond my expectations. So yeah, I would usually just say that you should leave me a like, but because this was basically possible just because of Gigguk, and go and watch the anime, and go and give him the like, comment down below his video, and subscribe to both of us in this case. But yeah, if you're not subscribed to him, go subscribe. You probably are in his channel, you probably are not in mine, but you know, I don't care. If somehow one person knew about Gigguk because of me and not because of him, go and subscribe to him. I think that he is a very good content creator, he's a phenomenal guy as far as I'm concerned, and as I said, this anime was very good, so go and say directly to him and not to me, that I'm not anything to him. So yeah, without anything else to explain, see you next time, bye bye.